It's all rigged. Everything. Sports is rigged as a whole. Welcome to Harry's Harry News, the only fake news outlet out there, and we're proud of that fact. And that's the only fact you're going to hear all day on this channel. So last week I had an issue with the NFL, and more specifically CBS Sports and these two guys that were going ahead, and they were the experts. They were going to tell you about who to bet on and who's going to win which game, and it's all horseshit, really. We looked them up and down, and they had a losing record like every single time. It's ridiculous. It's kind of embarrassing, but as soon as I called them out on it, I think they turned things around, right? So let me introduce you to the two handsome men of the hour, Kyle and Pete. And last week, they both had losing records, or at least tied. Like, they had losing records only 2 weeks into football. And basically, I was ranting about how these experts are telling you who to pick, and they're also, this whole show is sponsored by FanDuel. So almost like they're kind of telling you who to bet on, and you'll lose, all right? And as soon as I call them out on it, as soon as I call them out on their shit, they go and they have, well, at least Pete, he has an incredible week here. All right. Last week he was 10-6. All right. I always separate the best bets from the actual games. Like, we don't really care about the best bets here on this show. And he won his best bets this last week. So he's 10-6 technically for this week. And Kyle is 8-8. At least Pete had a pretty good week here. All right. And it was a crazy week in the NFL if you're watching any of it. And that's where the conspiracy starts. Like, what did they know? As soon as I recommended that it might be more beneficial if you're sports betting. By the way, I don't have any good advice. This is not good advice. This is just my ramblings, and you're here to listen to my ramblings. But as soon as I presented that it might be a better case to bet against everything they say, because you'll have a better winning record, because if they have a losing record and you bet against them, you'll have a winning record. That's how math works, right? As soon as I suggest that, they have these crazy ass predictions. Maybe they called their buddies at NFL or FanDuel or whoever runs it. They're right. Like, if you want to remember some of these last week 3 picks, the Packers had like the greatest odds to beat the Browns this past week, right? At the end of the fourth quarter, the Packers had a lead of 10-0. They ended up losing that 13-10. Like, the Browns came back and won 13-10. The same thing with the Rams. For the Rams and the Eagles, the betting or like the odds were kind of closer match for that one. But take a look here. The Rams had built a lead at like midway through the third quarter, 26-7. They were sitting pretty. And then what did the Eagles do? They come back and win it 33-26. It was freaking mind-blowing. This week was madness. And what does our buddy Pete do? Well, let's just take a listen. By the way, look at this real quick. 2% people picked the Browns to win this past week. 98% picked the Packers. Like, it was just like, it was like dumb, like, to not pick the Packers here, right? Let's just take a look at what Pete says here, huh?
I have a little hunch here that the Browns are going to hang around in this one.
Define hang around.
Packers are the only team to win both games by multiple scores.
But where are they going today? Where are they going this week? They're out on the road. When you go out on the road, things happen. Things change.
That reasoning is crazy. He has a hunch. What did FanDuel call him? Did FanDuel call him? He has a hunch that the Packers are going to all of a sudden lose. They were freaking destroyed, and they all of a sudden, they're going to lose now? He just has a hunch. He's like, when you go on the road, things happen. Maybe the Packers just blew the lead, all right? Fine, that's totally fine. But the way he said it, just the way he phrased it, they're onto something. You know, I'm not crazy. You see this shoe. I'm presenting you with the evidence. And so he went with the Browns here. And he was correct. The Browns won. And maybe I can't fault him for being correct. Like, he was right, you know? So I can't fault him. But at the same time, he picked the Browns. Like, who picks the Browns? What? It's rigged. It's all rigged. Anyways, I showed you how these guys did last week. 8-8, 10-6. Not too bad. Let's see how I did this week. So first of all, my main pick'ems is now at 32-16. I also lost 6 games this past week. So I was 10-6 this last week, which actually brought me up in the percentile. I'm up to 69.8% percentile. I was down to like 66%. So I'm getting up there. I'm almost in the top 30% of people. My coin, on the other hand, remember, we flipped a coin and we picked based on heads or tails. It did what a coin does best. And it went 50-50 with its picks. 8-8. Literally the same as this expert Kyle. This self-proclaimed expert Kyle was as good as a coin this week. What do you have to say for yourself, Kyle? What do you have to say? A coin is as good as you. Maybe we should just hire a coin to sit at the desk and then they can flip it. That'd actually be really good content. That's why I'm doing that. Let's go on with my stats a little bit. So 32 for 48 is what I'm currently at. So I'm 66% right. So like 2 out of 3 times I'm going to pick the right answer. Let's see what our buddy Kyle's at right now. He has 23 right picks out of 48. That's less than 50% right. He's less than 50% right. He's almost at a 48. With the good week that Pete had, by the way, remember I said said, is rigged. He told FanDuel to rig it. He's now at 56% correctness, which, just in case if that looks good at all, remember, me, nobody, maybe I know a little bit of ball. I'm about 10% more right than him, if that's how the math works. All right, so that's how the numbers check out right now. We're going to see how they do next week. Now, real quick, let's do this last time. We looked at the FanDuel rankings, and like I said, remember, they're sponsored by FanDuel. So you can see down here, they're sponsored by FanDuel. All right, just in case, every episode, I should make the connection just to make sure that you know that they're sponsored by FanDuel. They tell you they're the best bets, and then they suck at making bets. It's almost like they're getting paid by FanDuel, which that's true, to tell people how to make bets, which that part is also true. And those people might go to FanDuel with these incorrect bets and give up money to FanDuel because they're losing money with their bets. Just saying, we got 2 out of the 3 of the circle completed, or at least proven, I guess. Like, it's right there in your face. Like, they tell you to make the bets. They're sponsored by FanDuel. You know, it's not hard to like connect the circle. They got like more than a semicircle going on here. All right, just saying the conspiracy. I'm not accusing them. I'm not saying it's proven. I'm just saying this is what it can look like. Right, this is what it looks like. You might be getting paid off by FanDuel, and I think I'm being correct with calling this out. All right, I'm not trying to accuse anything. I don't think these guys are intentionally doing anything wrong. That's my stance on it. All right. Anyways, speaking of FanDuel, they had some really bad power rankings last week. Let's see these power rankings. Are they any better? First of all, what are the Chiefs doing at number 3? They're 1-2. They're probably the 3rd best in their division at most. You got the Chargers over the Chiefs. You got the Broncos that are better than the Chiefs. And the Broncos and Chiefs haven't gone up against each other yet. All right. I can see that. I understand that. But I think the Broncos look stronger. So for the Broncos and the Chiefs, both of their losses were to 3-0 teams, right? So they're not as bad as people are saying, but I don't get how that means that the Chiefs get to be number 3 while the Broncos are 13. That doesn't make sense to me, right? The Chargers are 3-0. The Chargers beat the Chiefs, and yet they're down here. Same thing with the Eagles. Eagles beat the Chiefs, and yet they're down here. And I do think the Eagles are slightly overrated. I don't think they're as good as they seem. We saw the Rams kicking the shit out of them for almost a full 3 quarters before they locked in. And granted, they still won the game, right? And that's where I have to give them credit, is they're still 3-0. So they need to be higher than 6. What do you mean they don't move spot? The Rams got to move up for losing to the Eagles, but the Eagles stay in the same spot? That makes sense. The Lions lost to the Packers, like we pointed out last week. And of course, the Packers lost to the Browns, but also, and not to excuse the Packers, I mean, I am a Green Bay Packer, so you know my bias. But did they really take that game as seriously as they took the Lions, which is a competitive team, or the Commanders, which is a competitive team? Do you think maybe they took a step down against the Browns and then they got unpleasantly surprised? I think that might be the case. So I think the Packers and Lions, I guess, are pretty close to each other. And meanwhile, the Ravens are at number 2 when they're 1-2. They've lost 2 games and they're still at 1-2. Guys, these rankings, if you just keep looking at them, you can just nitpick everything. Which, honestly, it's not even nitpicking. It's just calling FanDuel out for their bullshit. Like, what? They added FanDuel research. What is your research team? Is it one guy that just, like, fucking flips a coin? Because hire me. I got you. It's time for the best part of the video where we actually make the picks ourselves. I'm going to tell you how it goes. So I selected all these right before the season started. So disregard all of it. We're going to go from the start. I think the Seahawks are going to win against the Cardinals. I think it's a close match. I can see the Cardinals winning it. But also, the Cardinals don't know how to close out games. Seahawks defense looks really good. Gotta go Seahawks. Steelers Vikings is really hard for me. I kind of want to go Steelers here. I don't know. I think I just trust Aaron Rodgers over Carson Wentz. And also the Steelers defense is supposedly stronger than the Vikings. That's my argument. Commanders versus Falcons, another hard one. Oh shit, kind of want to go Falcons here. I feel like they're gonna this is their wake up call this week. And the Commanders, they're without their star quarterback right now. So let's go Falcons. Let's get cheeky with it. Bills are beating the Saints. I think the Lions are gonna beat the Browns. And now you might say, oh, but Harry, but you said the Packers are better than the Lions. Yes, they beat them week 1. Didn't you see that 3 weeks ago? They beat them week 1. But also, I think the Lions are gonna know what to expect now because they saw this past game and make sure to not tone down the crank. Which I don't think the Lions ever tone it down. Like, I think they just go hard every single game, which is, you could argue, is what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, you can hurt guys really easily by just going full force every single game. I'm not going to get into the coaching with it. I'm just trying to explain a little bit of what I understand of ball. And I think the Lions are going to make sure they don't tone it down, especially against this Browns defense, which is really strong. Next, we got Panthers versus Patriots. I really like the, oh shoot, should I go Patriots or should I go Panthers? This one's tough. I don't know how the Panthers beat the Falcons, honestly. This makes me, I don't know what to think of the Panthers right now. It's really my problem. So should I go Panthers? I might go Panthers because I don't know what to think of them right now, and I don't want to underestimate them. Next, I got Chargers versus Giants. I think the Chargers, they're 3-0. They're looking strong. The Giants aren't bad. They're just going against hard teams, and I feel bad for the Giants. But the Chargers, like, they're just going to win. Justin Herbert, like I said, ever since he lost his virginity to Madison Beer, he's a dog, bro. He's a dog. This next one's crazy. Eagles versus Buccaneers. That'll be really fun. I really want the Buccaneers to beat the Eagles, honestly. That'd be really cool. But I think the Buccaneers have been getting so cheeky with all 3 of their wins. They've always made it so close. Same with the Eagles, honestly, in a sense. But I just think Eagles are stronger. Texans versus Titans. I think the Texans might finally get a win here. 2 0-3 teams. Both suck, but I think Texans are better. Rams versus Colts. I think the Colts are going to finally lose one. I think the Rams are really strong. We saw how they held up against the Eagles right until the end. And maybe this is me still underestimating the Colts, but I think the Rams keep going. Then you get 49ers versus Jaguars. I picked the Jaguars to beat the Texans last week, and I loved it, and it worked. But I think the 49ers will beat the Jaguars here. But the 49ers, they do not feel like a 3-0 team. They don't feel that strong, but they'll beat the Jaguars. And then you got Ravens versus Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to lose. I think the Ravens look better. They're good. They're strong. The Chiefs have already peaked. The Chiefs are on the downhill now. And so I just don't think they can keep up with teams like the Ravens. And then we got Bears versus Raiders. I see Bears here. Sorry, Raiders. The Raiders suck, right? But I still think that they're overhyped. Like, a lot of people are still hyping up the Raiders. I think the Bears take it. They whoop the Cowboys' asses. And that's what Green Bay is also going to do this week. I hope. I think I'm trying to be unbiased here. I think the Packers win this. Like, Cowboys have no defense, and that's really what held Green Bay back last week, was just a good defense. So with no good defense, I think Packers take it. Then you got 2 0-3 teams, Jets and Dolphins. Honestly, I think the Jets have been getting unlucky with their matchups. They almost beat the Steelers. They almost beat the Buccaneers. I think the Jets will beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins got close with the Bills, but I don't think the Bills ever let it out of their reach. And other than that, the Dolphins have kind of sucked. There's nothing else to say. And finally, the Broncos. I think the Broncos are being underrated. I'll say it. Like I said, their 2 losses are to 3-0 teams, the Colts and the Chargers. And both of those games came down to a field goal kick. Like, basically 2 coin flips, and the Broncos could be 3-0, right? You know, just like how the Chiefs like won a bunch of bullshit games last season, the Broncos have just lost a couple bullshit games this season. They're like exact opposites of each other, and the Bengals really have nothing going for them right now with Joe Burrow out. Broncos easily take this, and they're gonna do it with 45 points. I'm never changing the 45, baby. All right, now we're on my literally just a coin account, right? It's just a coin. We went 8-8 last week. Beautiful. We're better than 11% of people playing the pick'ems. 11% of people are getting beaten by a coin right now. And I started week 3. All right, so how bad of a record do you have to have less points than the coin that started week 3? I don't know. I'm not gonna roast you. Like I said last week, home teams are gonna be heads and away teams are tails. That's as easy as it goes. And we just start from the top of the list. All right, heads for the Cardinals, tails for the Steelers, or for Vikings. Sorry, Vikings over Steelers. Next, we have tails, Commanders over Falcons. After that, we're going heads, Bills. I'm liking this. After that, Lions versus Browns. Ooh, we got the Browns beating the Lions. I don't know. Hey, remember last week? You never know with the Browns. And then we're going heads with the Patriots. After that, we're going heads for the Giants over the Chargers. I don't know, but maybe Scattaboo and Jackson Dart, maybe they're onto something. The coin knows best, is all I'm saying. Coin knows, or it says the Eagles will beat the Buccaneers. And then it says Texans beat the Titans. Tails. Colts beat the Rams. Okay. I mean, a lot of these are really toss-ups in a sense, so maybe the coin knows. After that, we got tails. All right, Jaguars over 49ers. Sure. I could not see it. Heads, we got Chiefs over Ravens. Okay. Heads, we got Raiders over Bears. Okay. And we got tails, Packers over Cowboys. Okay, I'm starting to like this coin again. I'm starting to like the coin again. Then we got Dolphins over Jets. Okay. We'll see. I mean, more people are picking the Dolphins than the Jets to win. Look, 69% to 31%. I don't know. From what I've seen, I think the Jets could win over the Dolphins. That's how I see it. And finally, we got heads. We got Broncos over Bengals. And what's going to be put in is 69 points. Someone said last week, my friend, he's like, why didn't you do 50 points? Because it's 50-50. Shut up. 69 funny. 69 funny. Shut up. 69 points are going to be scored. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to say it. Looks like it's going to be half and half this week. I don't know. A lot of these are toss-ups. So we'll just have to wait. Isn't that right, Pete? Isn't that right, Pete? So this has been your weekly update. Week 4 picks are in the books. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, this is not gambling advice. Gamble at your own risk. You gotta be 21 or plus. I don't have a lawyer, so I don't know if I have to say these things. So I'm just saying them just in case. Pretty cool, huh? All right, and then we'll just see how the coin does for next week. So we'll have to wait and see till then. Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Love you. Subscribe. Mwah.